She notices the invitations stop arriving before anyone explains why. Not because of scandal, because silence scales quietly now. They do not stop all at once. They thin, they arrive later. They ask less, they ask differently. The silence is administrative, not personal. It comes from calendars updating themselves without her name. From email chains where someone decides it would be complicated. From meetings where caution is mistaken for respect. She is still alive. That fact alone confuses people who encounter her without preparation. They expect a shape they already know. They expect a tone. They expect something consumable. Instead, they meet a woman who moves carefully through rooms that once assumed access to her. Her mornings begin without ceremony. No performance. No ritual worth documenting. She wakes when she wakes. Some days begin early. Some do not begin at all in any visible way. The routine never stabilizes long enough to be called a routine. That instability costs her reach. It also protects her. She keeps a phone but limits what reaches it. Messages accumulate. She does not rush to answer. Delay becomes a form of self-defense. It also hardens perceptions. People decide what her silence means. They decide it means decline, or refusal, or difficulty. They decide without asking. The decisions stick. Her voice still exists, but not where it once did. It appears in fragments, clips, samples, looped phrases separated from intention. Algorithms carry it farther than she ever traveled. Her image moves faster than she can correct. She does not chase it. She watches it pass. There are days when she opens a browser and sees herself reflected back as an aesthetic. Hair shapes, eyeliner instructions, mood boards, named after years she remembers as cluttered and loud. Pain edited into fashion. Vulnerability packaged as tone. She closes the tab without comment. The closing costs her relevance. It also spares her participation. She is asked, repeatedly, to explain herself, to contextualize, to revisit, to sit under lights and describe moments that no longer feel singular to her. Invitations frame this as healing, as honesty, as empowerment. She declines most of them. Declining creates a vacuum. Others fill it. When she does agree to appear, the conditions are narrow. No live questions. No open-ended prompts. No demand for confession. The interviews are described afterward as distant, guarded, uncooperative. The word difficult returns. It never leaves. She performs rarely, not because she cannot, but because each appearance generates consequences that extend longer than the set. Clips circulate, comments follow, old expectations resurface. Her body absorbs the noise unevenly. She feels the after effects in ways that do not align with headlines. After visibility, she retreats, not dramatically, quietly. She cancels plans without explanation. She stops responding for weeks. The pattern is noticed. It is interpreted. It becomes another story she does not correct. She lives with few people around her. The circle contracts over time. Some leave because the pace is wrong. Some leave because the boundaries are real. The remaining relationships require maintenance that she does not always manage well. Distance accumulates. So does relief. There are periods when old habits resurface during pressure. Not announced, not visible. Managed privately, with mixed results. Attempts at control that do not always hold. These moments do not define her days, but they shape her weeks. They pass without audience. They leave residue. She does not speak about them publicly, not because of shame, because articulation invites ownership she does not want to surrender. Silence becomes a negotiation. It costs her clarity. It preserves her agency. The industry changes around her without consulting her. Streaming metrics replace physical presence. Personas outperform people. New artists reference her without meeting her. She becomes an adjective, a shorthand. She hears herself described in rooms she does not enter. There are meetings about legacy where she is treated as a concept. The language is careful. The plans are ambitious. She listens and says little. When she says no, the room recalibrates. Budgets shift. Enthusiasm cools. Doors close politely. She is grateful to her listeners, genuinely. She writes notes she never sends. She records messages that remain on devices. Gratitude exists, but distance is necessary. Proximity invites expectation. Expectation demands consistency. Consistency has never been her strength. Her relationship with visibility remains uneasy. She understands its mechanics too well to surrender to them easily. She also understands what refusing them costs. The trade-offs are constant. None of them resolve. At times, she considers releasing new work. The process begins slowly. Files accumulate. Nothing finalizes. The pressure to contextualize the work before it exists becomes heavy. She pauses. The pause becomes indefinite. AI-generated versions of her voice appear without warning. They are described as tributes, experiments, homages. She hears phrases she never sang, arranged into melodies she never chose. The resemblance is close enough to unsettle, distant enough to deny responsibility. She considers responding. She imagines statements. She drafts language. Each response would legitimize the thing it names. She stays silent. The silence is read as consent. It is not. Her body carries memory differently now. Fatigue arrives unpredictably. Focus drifts. She adapts by reducing commitments. Reduction simplifies some things. It complicates others. People fill the gaps with assumption. She still writes, often at night. Lines that do not aim for release. Words that exist without destination. This writing is not productive in the way productivity is measured. It stabilizes her. It also isolates her. There are moments of control that feel real. Weeks where routines hold, where boundaries function, where exposure is limited and manageable. These periods end without announcement. Stress arrives from unexpected directions. Old negotiations resume. She avoids watching documentaries about herself. She knows the footage. She lived it. Seeing it reorganized into arcs feels invasive. Closure is implied, where none exists. She chooses absence over correction. Public discourse continues without her input. Opinions calcify. New audiences encounter her through summaries. They feel entitled to access. She feels the weight of being constantly interpreted. Her home life remains unremarkable by design. Objects stay where she leaves them. Days pass without record. This ordinariness is not celebrated. It is necessary. She attends events sporadically. Appears older than expected. Quieter. The contrast becomes the headline. Aging is framed as loss. She does not comment. When asked about survival, she redirects. She speaks about work, about sound, about privacy. The redirection is seen as avoidance. It is maintenance. There is no final resolution, no return, no collapse, only continued adjustment, exposure followed by retreat, engagement followed by silence, a life lived adjacent to its own echo. The internet continues to remember her in ways she does not recognize. She continues to live in ways that do not translate. The distance between those realities widens. She remains, not triumphant, not defeated, present, negotiating survival without spectacle. This video is a speculative simulation based on documented behavior, historical records, and psychological patterns. It does not claim factual accuracy.
Never explosive, the move balances toughness and vulnerability without melodrama. Song should feel like a personal statement rather than a confession. No explicit references to drugs, rehab, or self-destruction.